and welcome to VFX Tutors. I'm Josh, and in this tutorial we're just going to be continuing with modelling our rifle, or flamethrower. So if you're just picking this up now, we'll just come across this now, you can follow this through for the whole sort of series. It's not sped up, it's more of a walkthrough, but but we're just going to carry on where we are. So I'm just going to unhide our scan. So we're going to work on this bit next. This sort of what I can assume is the fuel pipe. So it kind of curves in, goes in under here, and it has this threaded part. So it's actually not a super complicated piece. We do need to sort of figure out how to do these threads properly. Obviously we could cheat them and maybe no one would notice, but I would know. So we're going to do them properly. And this sort of leather band is a separate piece, so let's not worry about that for now. So first of all, I'm actually going to, because it's going to be made of separate parts, I'm actually going to go up to create and polygon primitives. Actually, I haven't done this in a while, so I have to remember. And I'm going to create a helix. And this is going to be the basis of our thread. And we use this as a guide. So you can probably see which way. So on this thread here, we can sort of see that it goes down. We're currently at the right sort of way, so it's threading down. Okay, so if we go to our attributes, we'll have polyhelix tools. So probably what I want to do is reduce my radius. And if I bring my subdivision axis down to 4, because we only want this top part, we're going to delete all the inside bit anyway. But now you can sort of see how we're going to create the thread. Like I say, you probably could cheat this, but we would, for this case, it's just kind of know if you want to make a proper thread. So again, trying to avoid using any of the scale tools, just because it kind of throws these bits out of sync. So we see we've got a lot more coils. They're obviously a lot closer together. So if you kind of see what we're trying to get at here, let's bring our radius down to maybe 0.2. No, not that. It's just 0.2. Let's add some more coils. And I'm just going through and I'm just reducing everything, just trying to keep it all in line. Worry too much about how many subdivisions on it at the moment, but we want to change our radius. No, our too small. That seems about right for the sort of radius of it. You can start to see we're actually starting to get something that's actually fairly closely aligned. We don't need as many. We could effectively just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably easier just to count it. Let's just put this to 1. Well, if you really wanted to go to town with sort of the accuracy, you can sort of rotate that around so it's a bit more correct. So I feel we've got quite a good thread here, but obviously not exactly lined up with it. Cool. So we've got our thread, which sort of maybe actually need 5.5 quarters in there, so it just goes. Cool. So I'm just going to isolate that for now, so we can sort of, because they're kind of overlapping, we don't really want that, so we can actually get this to get a little bit tighter. And unfortunately, because we've got 6, the edges won't line up, so we'll just go with 6. That's not too many. We might actually go back to 5. Doesn't have to be super accurate, but like it helps. But I think we'll just go with 6. 6 to slope. Always a hard choice when you're picking how many coils you want on your thread. So definitely see 5 predominant ones. So we'll just stick it with 5 actually. Down to you, really. Also, but I'm going to stick with 5. Doing a mix of radius and height just to get that kind of nicely. It's a little bit too. Like I say, we're trying to be as accurate as possible. You don't necessarily have to be busting. You're going crazy over this. But the main thing is that we've got now our we've got our thread. Let's try and get it as close as possible. Just so when we do come to weld it, they will just fit nicely together. Cool. So I'd say that's about right. So obviously we've got a lot of subdivisions, so we could probably reduce that just to make our lives a little bit easier. But we don't want it so low when we do let's go with 28, maybe. Because don't forget, we still have to sort of seal this off as well. But this will kind of give us enough play room. Cool. So now we've kind of done our thread. I'm just gonna delete those end bits first so it doesn't loop around. Cool. So now we need to, let's see if we smooth that. It will look alright, but we're not actually welded. So let's just select all our vertices. Mesh, edit mesh, sorry, and bring up our merge vertices tool window. Because they probably won't be on top, but we can bring it up. Maybe it's quite far away. Maybe that's what you're sometimes, because we're actually at because we're at such a small scale. If you just scale the whole thing up by, I don't know, let's do actually by 100. Then you actually have to freeze the transforms. Then if you go edit mesh, open up your merge tools. And see they've merged properly now because it's the units are not really reading the scale because we're kind of modeling at a very small scale. So we'll just bring that down to the correct size. What we'll do is just freeze that. Cool. So what we have now is it was 28, yes. So now we have this thread, which we now need to sort of tidy up to make into sort of a tube, which will work. So what I'm going to do now, because we know that's 28 edges, I'm just going to create a cylinder. Give that 28 edges. So I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. I know it's long, but just think of it as more of a walkthrough. And more of an eye-opener. I know I say it almost every time, because I sometimes find it hard to talk about stuff, because it's kind of like, once you've done this a couple of times, you kind of get the idea, but it's more of a walkthrough if you get stuck at points, instead of those 10-minute wonder tutorials. So the scan is a little bit dodgy here. So I'm just going to approximate the width as close as I can. Sort of doing it by eye. Cool. So I'm actually just gonna, do I want to do it like that? No. I want to use this as my edge here. Cut that. I know we can't really see it, but this is all something we can work on a little bit more later once we get that sort of correct shape. I do want to make sure that I put an edge loop here though, so I'm not actually physically affecting that edge too much. And so there's like a lot of ways you can do this. There's no set way really. I'm just making sure that, because I need to add this little bit in as well, I need to sort of plan that as well. So for now, I'm just going to kind of keep that in the center because we might actually bevel that that edge and make it into 2. Extrude this out. Turn my wireframe X-ray on just so I can also see it. Probably should have just and we can bring that in there just for the sake of filling up any possible gaps that we don't see. I'm just going to clean this. Nope. Let's go to our panels. Top. And get back right here of the curve. Just add another one in there just for good measure. Clean this sort of curve out. I'm just going to add another edge loop here. So it kind of curves up. And we're not going to worry about that, we'll sort that out a bit later. Cool, so obviously we can't have stuff like that. Which we may have to. Stuff like this we'll worry about a little bit later, I think. We just want to get this working, then we can sort of use our lattice and stuff to fix that. So probably can actually just delete all those faces now. Because we can adjust all this once we get the sort of shape of it all working. So, kind of tricky to see how that is without taking that bit off, but we'll just take a wild guess. Let's hide that and see how badly that's aligned. So at some point we do go up. You get some thickness in there. Kind of see that it's looks like it's sort of tapered up. It's obviously not like that, but we'll worry about it. I know I keep saying that. We'll worry about it a little bit later. Seems to be my top catchphrase. Worry about it later. Oh, we could actually just do it properly, to be honest. So I imagine it's probably like hard to tell, really. So we can always adjust this. going to turn my shading or wireframe shaded on just to help with that. So I know I rotated this stupidly, which I probably shouldn't have. I'll just leave it like that. Maybe we'll adjust this up. Sequence of bad choices has probably led to this. Sorry about that. But hey, I am definitely not perfect at modelling. I'll definitely make a lot of mistakes. And we'll have to fix some of these for sure. But worry about it later. So that was definitely a bad idea to remove those. So what we'll have now is that we've got this interesting shape that we need to yeah, I messed up by deleting the transforms on that. But we'll just do a really nasty rotate. And that should be alright. So what we now have to do is figure out how this sort of tapers on and off. Whilst actually making it work with the rest. So just gonna let's just isolate that. Just gonna kind of crudely pull these down. Just so it's not so just so there's some sort of gradual lift to it. Obviously, if you hadn't keyed history, Frosier transforms, this might be a little bit easier. But let's not worry about it. Probably already going like massively overkill on the detail on this, making it physically correct when we could probably just cheat it. But now you know how you can make nice threaded parts. So the next thing we need to do is kind of bring these in as well. Do we? Maybe not. Probably. See how this goes. Bridge that. Because obviously we've still got to worry about making these hard edges. slightly off as well. So we have to pick and choose. What we need to do is actually bring this in. So there's less of a transition. Probably not a super efficient way of doing this, but it's a way. Because I want to, because I can add this. What I really don't want to do is change this sort of piece here, because that's going to be like machined correctly. Whereas we can kind of get away with a bit more. Obviously, it does not help at all that I froze the transforms, so that's completely my fault. So let's try that. Okay. So combine. Let's delete the history of that so it's not so heavy. Hopefully that should all be a complete edge loop. This probably won't work, but let's try it. Yep, it goes to the wrong one. Let's try it out. Cool. So now we've got this sort of shape which we now need to sort of definitely tidy up for sure. Kind of gets a bit funky around here. Cool, so that bit's pretty good. We've got our thread in there. Obviously, we need to do the hard edges, but we're not going to do that yet. And what we'll do is bring back our scan rifle. And turn our shading, wireframe on shaded off. We could make another cylinder. I want to make another cylinder, or we can just grab a bit of here. Just going to create another cylinder. And yeah, I forgot I deleted the transforms, which was silly. So maybe sorry, sometimes I just think out loud and just mumble. It's probably quite a reliable part of the scan. Cool. So I'm quite happy with how that's sort of working. So I have to remind myself not to do transforms on it quite yet. So even though it's kind of not fitting all on my, I'm still just going to keep it uniform. We effectively have to do the exact same thing on this as we did on the previous bit. The only reason I've done it this way is so I keep this perfectly round whilst I'm sort of messing around with these bits here. I don't really want to break that. Same again, let's bring this in a little bit tighter. Obviously I'm just kind of yanking this across and we'll just clean it up. And this is purely just to not mess too much with the threading, or because it's very easy to mess it up, I find. So it's actually not taking as long as I thought it would, but that. Just want to make this sort of edge not so abrupt. Make it so it kind of it's a smooth transition, whilst we've got this probably quite horribly stretched kite. Which may cause some issues, but we'll find out after we've done it, I guess. There's no point preempting something until it's actually showing its face. I think that's probably about alright. We'll just combine. We'll start with this edge first. Bridge. Double click and select them all. You can press G again, it should do it. Now if we press 3, we can see we've got a very correctly threaded edge, but the problem is now we've lost all our definition. So let's I'm just gonna bevel these one by one because I don't think we're gonna bevel all of them. Because we might have to think of a different strategy to get the hard edges. So obviously if I add an edge loop in here, it's gonna not do at all what I wanted, which was interesting. It's a strange one. Why is that going to the height? So it seems like that bit's kind of killed the edge loop, which is actually quite useful because that means I have to take it as a different strategy. I am unsure how well this will work, I will be honest, but let's try it. Because worth trying if it saves messing around, but that only matters if it doesn't do anything really weird, which it has done. So it's done some pretty nasty stuff. So let's not do that. What we can try is add an edge loop on that. We might have to do this in a very manual fashion, maybe. Yes, that's the only. Well, the other downsides of doing things are. Sorry, my throat is still not good. Is that you come into not, I wouldn't say complicated, more annoying, I would say, edge loops, which I'd rather not have to deal with. But hey, that's what it is. So we can try and extrude and do an offset. What they'll do, I'll keep us that should keep us good for one edge, or it might be fine for all of it. I think that might be fine for all of it, you know. Maybe it's actually a little bit too sharp. distance, right? So maybe 0.02. Even that's a little bit too sharp. 1, 7. So I think that's probably about right. That's quite nice. And yeah, so I guess we'll just carry on with finishing that bit off. What are we on now? 41 minutes. We'll do the little leathery bit in a separate one, I think, just a quick win one. Let's extrude this in. Turn it off. We'll actually extrude this quite far in, just in case. It's probably a bit extreme, but nice to know it's kind of safely in there. We'll think about closing that off. We probably don't need to. Transform component, because that'll be like kind of an extrude, but without extruding it. Cool, so I think we're pretty good for that. Obviously there's some intersecting bits, which we'll worry about at another time. Yeah, I think for this one, I think we're pretty much done. We'll, before I say that, we'll just double check against scan, see if there's anything hurt. Oh yeah, that bit. We're not done. Forgot about that bit. So what we will do is Trying to keep that curve. Switch that to component and scale it roughly nicely. Not sure how well that will do, but that seems to actually not be as bad as I thought it would, but it's not exactly perfect. Do have some wild stuff going on here, though. Need to fix. Probably quite risky, but let's see how it goes. Definitely not the best way of doing this, but it's a way. Cool. So, a little bit better. It's not bang on perfect. But what we can do is have these little cylinders in here now. Got some creases actually in here, which we need to repair. Not so bad now. We can always smooth it probably a little bit. Probably won't see it once the texture's done anyway, so. And like I usually do, I'm just using this as a template to build those holes, just so I know they're round. There are tiny little grub screws in there or something. Can't really see in the scan, so I'll have to check the RAF. Quite big holes. Probably not a bad guess at that size. It's also a little bit too fat as well, so this is probably where I start making unnecessary mess, which I really do not want to do. Maybe I'll fix that bump there. So let's bring back our wireframe shaded. Figure out how we can actually make this into a circle after not planning for it properly. But luckily we should be able to. Just keep it simple. Probably. Could have done with an extra one. 0.08. 0.07. 0.05. Nope, even less. Let's go for that. So we've got enough edge loops now. We can make it 4, but I don't think that's going to be very good for what we want. Gonna risk multi-cut edge flow. So I knew that would happen. Let's leave it as it is then, and just hope it doesn't cause massive problems. But we should be all good now. Just going to use this as a guide. Might still be on component selection. Oops. Don't think that should make a huge difference, but we might. So now we should have our perfectly need circle. We can now extrude it. And bevel off. Let's remember that it's not an edge loop in there, so what we can do is let's delete that. Let's duplicate that. Inverse and just delete. Just center that. And we'll just bring that up to here. Obviously it's not exactly the same, but we can make adjustments. This one's actually seem a bit big. Not sure if transform component worked too well on that, but no, it didn't. Delete that bevel. You can delete it in there. You could probably change the node, but I'm just going to do it this way. I'm just going to do the same for that. No, they're pretty much the same size. Well, that probably could have been done a lot better, but hey, it's done now. Let's not worry too much about that. It's about just getting it done, I think. So I'm just gonna combine those. Just make sure you select the right verse. Ooh. Let's choose that one. Let's make that at least look a little bit more correct. Okay, let's add these bubbles in, and we're almost done. we probably do the. I need to double check if there's any little. There's probably 2 little screws in there, and there's probably 2 little holes in there as well. So. Cool. So I think for that we're actually done. That's another look at the reference image actually and see if it's actually all correct. But hopefully you've enjoyed that. We still need some tidying up on making it actually fit properly because we're going quite close to the scan. The scan's kind of wrong in some places, so we still need to do that as a final sort of pass. But hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial. It's been an hour. Not the longest one, but also not the shortest. Made a sort of correct thread, and we'll do the sort of banding at another time. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget that like and subscribe. It really does help and makes me happy. So, yeah, and see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.